Hey Krafty Friends, this is Jen from Katahdin Krafts and welcome to the ScrapbookPal YouTube channel today. For my project today, I made this cute slimline card featuring my favorite things, stamps, and dies. The main stamp set that I'm using for today's project is called Travel Plans. It has an array of cute little images. I'm going to focus on these nice buildings and the cute little mouse with her baby. And then I also love that old-fashioned light post and the greenery that you can hang off of it. Wicked cute. And I'm going to use some of that luggage. And I love all of these sayings. Ultimately, I'm going to go with I'm so ready to see you that my bags are already packed. And so that's where the luggage comes into play. And then I'm going to also use a stamp from Feel Better, from My Favorite Things, and I thought that the mice would work really well. These are two of the other mice that mama has, and they're going to travel home to see her. Maybe they've been away on camp, at camp. I don't know. I always come up with a little story. And then I'm going to use this new die cut that My Favorite Things has come out with, and that is the Slimline Stitched Square. And you can also use their pouches that they have and make a shaker card that fits perfectly with that. And to start off the card, I grabbed my large slimline with sliders die set from Fawn, and I'm using the largest die that's in this set, and I'm going to set that square, the square die right inside of that, and this is going to make a frame plus pop out those squares. And I'm just going with my own judgment and my own eye of where to place that, and I'm taping it down with some low tack tape. I ran it through my die cut machine, and now I have a frame ready to go for my scene. Now, when I do slimline cards, I like to do 9x4s, so this is going to fit perfectly on a 9x4 and still have a frame in the background. Now, I am going to lay out all of my images onto some heavyweight cardstock and just stamp them all together with some Lawn Fawn Jet Black ink. And then I'm going to cut all of those out and we will be ready to do some Copic coloring. And I did use my Maker Forte Perfect Smusher tool in order to get some nice even pressure on my stamps. And then I stamped it up again, which that's why I love my Misty. And then I cut out all my images and we are ready to proceed. Now, in order to line up my card on that 9x4 card panel, I just laid it down there and I marked it off with some pencil. Now, honestly, I could have gone a little lighter with my pencil marking, so just be aware of that if you do the same card. Just go a little bit lighter and then the pencil marks will come off a little easier than they did for me. Now, I am speeding up my video a lot during the coloring. I did very simple coloring and you can see all of the Copic marker caps on the screen, so you can follow along with that if you would like, my color scheme. I wanted these buildings to just be background, so I wanted them very monotone without a lot of detail. So I'm using my neutral gray tones and I'm doing N0, N2, and N4. So I like to do every other color, one medium, one light, and one dark. And I did all of the buildings the same way. I did give them a little bit of dimension that way, just I highlighted on the edges and put some shadows. But you can see very simple, and that way it can be in the background. And now I wanted to make this greenery pop because I think that these are absolutely stunning. I cut out 4 because I wasn't sure how many I was going to use, but I ultimately end up only using 2. And now I'm going to color up this greenery. I'm going to put it in a basket. That's where the brown is. And I'm just going to do some light color of that YG in the background and then darken it up on the leaves. And again, very simple coloring because these images are very detailed already in very small spaces, so you don't have a lot of space for a lot of detail. So I'm going to hit the little flowers with an RV32, and then I'm just going to do some dotting on top of that with my RV34. I love that color combination. I am a pink lover, so I put pink a lot in my cards. So for these really beautiful detailed light posts, we're going to go with grays as well, but this time the cool grays. I'm going to go with 2, 4, and 6 and just do, again, some simple coloring with just a little bit of shading to give it a little bit of dimension to make it look three-dimensional. And then I'll pull it out with that lighter color again. I go my lightest color to shadow map, and then I go in with my medium tone, and then I go with that darker one, and then I pull it back out with my lighter tone, and that gives it a little bit of dimension. And I'm going to do the same exact coloring on both of those. And now for my cute little mice, I'm going to go with grays again, but this time my warm grays, and that gives them almost like a brownish look to them. And these were super fun to color. I enjoyed it. I just pulled that out on the lines that are already there. These stamps are so detailed that you can just enhance them a little bit with your coloring, and they are amazing. So for the inside of all of their ears, I put just a little bit of that W1 around the edge, and then I filled it in with the R0000, 4 zeros, and that just gives it that little bit of pink in the ear, but it's subtle. So I liked that. I really love the way that they came out. And so where I'm going to pop my color, because of all the gray that I have on this card, is in the clothing. So I'm going with that same color to match the greenery on the light post with the RVs, and then a little bit of blue on that little guy there. And now the luggage. I wanted these to look like really nice worn leather bags, so I went with a lot of browns, and then I also added a little bit of golden yellow and some reddish tones. And I did them all just slightly different, and you can see those caps again on the screen, but I was going for that old battered leather kind of look, very antique-y. So much fun trying to figure out some color combinations for this sort of thing, like what will shine through, what will blend well, even what will give it a little bit of texture, like that old worn leather is fun to play with and figure out. Now I'm using my rolling cloud stencil, and I'm going to go into where those boxes already are and do different skies for each one. Right here I'm using tumbled glass, and I'm just going to move my stencil around randomly so I get different cloud look. And because we already have that marked out, it's really simple to tell where we needed to make those skies. And now I'm going to use spun sugar and squeezed lemonade as well. And I love these colors for skies. I like to blend them together for a really nice soft pastel sky as well. But I thought it would be neat to do 3 separate colors for each little separate scene. And then our last one is squeezed lemonade, and I did change up the cloud formations for each one as well. And the buildings are really going to take up most of that square, so the skies are just going to be peeking out the tops. So I knew I just had to do a couple little layers. And I absolutely loved how soft the sky came out. And now with my buildings, I decided to make them very symmetrical. I thought it would help balance out my story and my scene a little bit and make the eye flow through the scene very easily. So I'm just going to adhere all that down with some liquid glue and test out my frame to make sure everything looks okay. Again, I wanted those buildings to be in the background, so that's why I adhered them to the back panel of the card. And now I like to make my edges, or my frames as I call them, match my card perfectly. So I generally will pick up my favorite color in the card, and then I just go around with my Copic marker. So I'm pulling out some of that color that we put into the flowers, and I'm going around the edges of my card frame with that. And now I'll have it match perfectly. I also stamped out my sentiment. I'm so ready to see you that my bags are already packed with Distress Oxide and Kitsch Flamenco. And now I needed to work on our little square frame. And I'm using that little luggage bag that was in the set. And I'm going around with Rusty Hinge, tea dye, and walnut stain distress oxides, and I'm just creating my own pattern background on that frame. Basically, essentially, we're making our own coordinating paper that will match our card perfectly. And as I stamp, I'm just using a random pattern, nothing in particular. Now I wanted to make sure that we had those flames showing a little bit in the light post, so I'm going back with some YR24 Copic marker, and then I just put a little on the outside edge and then blended that out with C0 and just trying to make a little bit of a glow. And then I just added some yellow candles in there. And now I'm going to glue down those hanging baskets. I think that these are super pretty. I love that. I'm just holding them down for a second to make them adhere, and I'm going to stack up our luggage because that's what the mice are working on. They're working on stacking up those bags so they can go back home. And now I wanted the mice to be slightly underneath the frame, but also on top. So I wanted to be able to tuck those in. So I'm going to glue the top part of my die down and then just get that on there using the guides that we made earlier. And now you can still lift that bottom flap, and so I can gently tuck those under and then leave some of that on top as well. I'm going to tuck the luggage under. And what I'm trying to do is make different layers on this card. So we have the background of the buildings, and then the mice are the second layer, and then we're going to have those pretty little light posts on the outside. And now when I'm done with adding on my mice, I'm going to just adhere the rest of that frame down and hold it down with some pressure. And then it's time to add our light post. I really love how this card came together. I find it very elegant. The details that are in the stamps make it that way, and it makes it really super easy to color and put them together and have a card that makes it look like you spent hours upon hours on. But yeah, we all know that it was just because the details of the stamps are so perfect. Now my sentiment, I decided not to leave in a simple rectangle, but I did cut around the edges of it. And then I'm popping that up for a little bit more dimension. And then I'm going to take that whole card panel and just adhere it to a 9x4 card base. And we have a beautiful card. So what better way to jazz up a beautiful card another notch by adding a couple more gems. I love gems, and these sticker gems by Honeybee are perfect. They're the right size to add a little bit of flair to those flower baskets and just finish that card off perfectly. Thank you so much for joining me again this month on the ScrapbookPal YouTube channel. I appreciate you crafting with me. You can find all of these wonderful products right at ScrapbookPal.com, and their shipping is super fast because I know once I see something, I want to get my hands on it as soon as possible. And make sure you check out the YouTube channel for lots of inspiration from this fabulous team. Again, I am Jen from Katahdin Krafts, and thank you so much for joining me today. Take care.